our third speaker is Mikko from TX.
Thank you. And thank you for having me here. I was looking at Cynthia's presentation earlier and I thought, oh shit, we're going to talk about the same thing, but the good thing is that I thought these will complete each other. So a little bit about myself. Short introduction is I'm old. The longer introduction is that I started in the internet business 25 years ago. My first job was I worked for an internet service provider, and my first job was to create CD-ROMs that people would go to the shop and they get like, I want to have an internet. And they're like, we need to give something to them. So we made these CD-ROMs with the box that here's the internet, and then you can install the internet browser to your computer. And that was my Web 1 experience. I did my first startup back in 2004. I was selling Creative Commons licensed music and books. Somebody could ask, why would you want to sell something that people can download for free? But actually they did. My second startup was we're doing something location-based, which was kind of huge thing in the 2007 and 8. People wanted to use like Foursquare and stuff, and we had something similar. But that didn't work out, so I turned into consulting, like failed startup people do. So then I found design-focused Web 2 agency, and we helped a lot of startups design their products. And during doing that, that company still exists. It's called Sangre, and we did merger to TX a few years back when I started to look at Web 3. And now I've been working with many different Web 3 startups, especially from the design point of view. And who is TX? So we are Web 3 focused design and development company, born in 2017. We help different startups build their products, and we have also a portfolio of our own products. And we are planning to launch our accelerator next year. We think that consulting only doesn't always work that well with Web 3 projects, so doing kind of sweat equity might work in some of the cases. What are the projects we've been working on? The bigger logos are our own projects. Maybe Streamer is the one that is the most well known. It's a real-time decentralized infrastructure. So basically solving the problem of the blockchain is not so good at sending a lot of data real-time, so Streamer is solving that in the Web3 way. Then there's Silta, Data Unions, Rundown, a lot of stuff. So today I'm going to talk about demand. This is something that I guess now that there's a little bit of downturn in Web3, everybody's talking about how to create the demand, like how do we... What's the problem basically in Web3 is that who's going to use it and how do you create the demand? So that's what I'm going to talk today. So first a little bit about the problem space. I don't know if any of you have went to Everest. No. Me neither, so then I can talk about anything about this topic. So I think I was watching this Netflix series about climbing to Everest, and there's this thing called the death zone. It starts from the 8 kilometer up. What happened to the human body when you go on top of 8 kilometers? because you have a lack of oxygen, you can't anymore, your digestive system doesn't work and you can't get any energy to your body. And your body starts to eat itself. To me, that sounds like a Web3 tokenomics model. So many projects that I see, they are good at start at spreading, launching, like people run the nodes, but what is the problem that they're solving? How do they generate revenue? So it works as long as they're minting more tokens to keep the nodes up, but where's the outside revenue? Where is the oxygen? So this is the metaphor for that. I think many projects fail in that they eat themselves alive at some point. Then there's the wrong planning here. You don't want to climb the Everest with the bad gear. I'm going to talk a little bit about the design and development process. So, most of you have seen this in one form or another, starting from Web 1, Web 2 to Web 3. So, what's been the interaction? Web 1 was mostly reading, consuming content. Web 2 was reading and writing, and then Web 3 is like you read, write, and then you own or even facilitate the service. So that's kind of the history from the Web 1, how it's been evolving. But this has been seen in different forms. So how about the development process? During Web 1, people were still doing something called waterfall. It means that if you're building something, you gather the requirements, then you write a spec, then somebody codes it, and then you release it. And then you hope that somebody likes it. Then, during Web 3, people started to understand that you need to have more agile, more lean way of working. You need to get users involved in the early stages. Cynthia was talking about this. You have to expose early, iterate in each step. So how's been Web 3 doing this? It's waterfall and token centered. So everybody's seen a lot of white papers. So that's basically the specification that people were doing in Web 1. Like you write a huge specification, which is the white paper, and then you start executing it and developing it. And then you see that, oh, is anybody going to use this? You might spend years of building something, and what you end up, you have a great system that nobody wants. So this process is, in a way, problematic that we've been seeing in Web 3. I understand it's coming from the times of the ICOs when people needed to understand what they want to invest in. And I think we still need white papers, but you can do it in the lean way as well. And then there's this is more a provocative thing to say that it's token owner-centered, but it is. Many of the plans and stuff, they are just planned to pump up the token price. How about the design process? So design focus here was mostly UI and layout because you just consume something. Then during Web 2, we saw the rise of UX. People were talking about the user experience and service design. And basically you made a services, you won the market by making the best UX. I think, for example, Spotify is a good example of it. The founder said that, yeah, there's similar services, but we have the best UX. So we are the biggest one in the market. And how is it in Web 3? I've seen like, yeah, DAO can decide this. Like, we can just ask DAO what to do with this design thing, and I don't think it's gonna work. So I think design by committee rarely works. There's a famous saying by Henry Ford that if he would have asked people, they would wanted to have faster horses. So you need to involve people, but you can't have the committee that designs everything. So we need to change this. So how do we change this? You can't forget this UX, UI, service design, like Cynthia explained. We still need those. We need those conventions. But we need something new as well because we are building ecosystems. So, and we still need the lean process that was introduced mostly during Web 2. So, I'm gonna show you something about the ecosystem design next and talk a little bit about what this user empowering means. And later I'm gonna also show you a toolkit that is something that we developed to help in this ecosystem design. It's released with the Creative Commons license, by the way. So what I mean by user empowering, I just made up this term because this user-centered thing is something that was born in around Web 2 and around the whole concept of UX. But it's really, it fails to center the user completely. It gives user freedom to use the service they choose. So Spotify, for example, they have great UX and it's been designed user-centered, but you can only use Spotify. Same thing with Twitter. Like there's a good UX, but try to take your data somewhere else. They don't let you do it. They want to log you in. Is it really user-centered when you want to log users in? So that's why I want to talk about user empowering. It's like when you design ecosystems, you might have some protocol, like the travel protocol, but you might have competing different UIs to it. So do we want to lock the user into one UI if they decide that the other one is better? Or they can choose the path between the ecosystem and what they want to use. So I think this is user empowering. So let the users choose their paths, but then each of those services that they use still need to have great UX. How about the ecosystem design? So this is something that we've been working along with a lot of projects by kind of learning by doing and then creating our own toolkit around this. So I would say most of the Web3 projects form in some sort of ecosystem. And the value production happens between these different stakeholders in the ecosystem. And with the ecosystem design process, you can start to solve actual problems for the stakeholders and users. It helps you to create demand, find different revenue streams. You give the users some reason to be part of the ecosystem, to be incentivized, and then create these open and interoperable systems. So how do you do it in practice? I will show you now the toolkit that each of you can start using straight away. Basically, it's basically a Miro-board template that we've been collecting this stuff that we've been learning during these different projects. So the background of the toolkit is that there's a project called Atarka that was EU-funded project, and we started to investigate how to organize underival resources, and with that work we basically understood that we need some sort of toolkit to understand it. And we've been honing it during our projects. How to use the toolkit? You need some background knowledge. You need to understand what project you are building. You do kind of initial modeling of the ecosystem. It's usually like by workshopping. Then you analyze it. Then you might do some iteration and ideation around it. and then you can go back and refine the model. And then based on that, you can start to actually design the tokenomics models. So how do you get to that? That's the address. So it's a free to use Miro template. I can show it if you want to have a picture of it. So this is the page you will land if you go to it. So I don't know if you've been using Miro. We have released it as a template here. There's some explanation about the template, and once you open the template, now the internet is gone again, but I have it here. So when you zoom out, it looks quite crazy, but there's we've included a tutorial how to use it. So this is something you can just work with your team. There's like different parts of it. First part is like creating the ecosystem model, and the second part is the value flow analysis. And there's an example project, simplified example project here that kind of showcase how to use this this system or toolkit. So basically, it starts out by modeling the ecosystem, understanding who are the stakeholders in the ecosystem. In this example project, there's different sort of stakeholders. You place them in the ecosystem map, and then you start to understand different problems and solutions that this ecosystem provides. You can go deeper into the ecosystem member profiles, like what kind of assets they have and capabilities they have and what kind of problems they might have. And then the interesting parts start with the value flow analysis, where you put all the stakeholders in the matrix and try to understand that what each stakeholder gives to each other, the other stakeholders. And based on this analysis, you start to have like value propositions for each stakeholder. And these are the things that makes these stakeholders want to become a part of the ecosystem. And then based on that, you can start to create a value flows that highlights how the ecosystem works. And this kind of graph is very useful when designing tokenomics. You can easily start to see the different value that stakeholders give to each other, and maybe find a way how to incentivize this interaction with tokens. So that was it. That was my presentation. Any questions?
Any questions for Mikko?
Okay. You mentioned that the Miro is public. What is it licensed under?
In Miro?
Yeah.
So the Miro is a paid service. I don't know if you have used it.
No, I mean the specific toolkit you guys have made. Is it like Creative Commons? Can anyone use it? Or is
Yeah. The template can be used by anyone. Yeah, it's licensed under Creative Commons, so you can make your own versions of it. You can use it in your own work if you're doing, like, it's free to use. It would be nice to mention us if, like, some part of it if you want to use it, but basically it's free for anybody to use.
Cool.
That's it. Okay, thank you, Mikko.
Thanks.